I think we're live now. Alright, hello everyone. Welcome to um, another live stream. This is the second session of our recapping of SpongeBob SquarePants, a cartoon I drew up a lot as a kid. And so here we are back doing like a quick little recap of every single episode in the show. So before we get started, I think we're gonna I think I need to see if the voice works well. So I think you guys can hear me. I think there's Game Boy Advance player. He's watching and I think I can kind of let me see. Let me take it here. Oh well. It seems like you can hear me. Okay. So as you can see, I'm using a different laptop from what normally I used before. So this is why kind of seems different to me. But you know, all right. So with that being said, let's continue our recapping. So we left off here in season one, where we basically recapped every single episode here. In season one. That is, and in this session we're gonna do season two, and we'll see. I'm thinking like an hour and a half at the very least live stream. So yeah, I think an hour and a half is maximum time I'm going to live stream. So basically, I'm gonna just kind of recap every episode of season two, just to see, you know, it every episode season two, and we'll get started. I don't know about season three. I might do that in session three, or I might do like just a character. Or I do want to recap like season three, and then I will do a recap of the characters. Then we'll continue season four, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13, and 14. The latest episode, and then we'll see Camp Coral. Tim Toad on the Patrick Star Show. We'll also recap those, and we'll recap the movies as well. So as like the 25th anniversary stream, and I also know that we're in July. We do have new Temp Total episodes coming out, and we have also kind of a 25th anniversary episodes where we do have the episodes. Here PL 1413 in the Mood to Feud that will be coming out, and I'm looking forward to those episodes. I'll definitely watch them and give them my thoughts. Here they are. And then, but anyways, let's continue our recap. And we also have the Sandy Cheats movie that's coming out in August too, which I'll also give my thoughts on. So but anyways, I hope you guys enjoy, and let's start. Let's continue with our recapping here. So basically we left off in the season 1 finale. There was Hootie and Merman and Barnacle Boy 2. Now we're going to continue. So we continue off in season 2, and we start with our first episode. So episode 21A, Your Shoes Untied, aired February 17, 2001. SpongeBob forgets how to tie his shoes. So to recap this episode, yeah, basically in this episode, SpongeBob and Patrick, they hand out a little bit, and then SpongeBob shows Patrick about tying his shoes, but then Patrick tries to tie his shoes, and then SpongeBob tries to teach him, but then it turns out that SpongeBob's shoes were tied since he was like very, it's been ages, and so SpongeBob forgets how to tie his shoes. He cannot work, and he always slips through his shoelaces. There's even this scene where he slips through his shoelaces, and then when he tries to serve the patty, I don't know why in this episode. I will say, one thing I don't get is that why is the fry cut, where he cuts the patties, like normally it's close to the window, where Strudward is in the cashier, he takes the food and gives it to the customers. But why in the case of this episode is the fry cut is like, he's cooking away from the window. It doesn't make a lot of sense, but either way, I do like this scene where he kind of slips on his shoelaces, and whenever he tries to serve telepathy, they just always fly on Struded's mouth. They always keep on flying, 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 flying to the point where Struded becomes a lot more overweight. Which I don't know. I thought that was really funny. And yeah, there's the customers, and SpongeBob does the now trying to have people teach him how to tie his shoelace. Mr. Krabs can't do that because he doesn't wear shoes. Mr. Krabs has these two pointy legs. Um, then he goes out, and then there's a scene where he basically meets the Flying Dutchman. Then he goes out, he tries asking people how to tie his shoes, but no one replies. He also goes to the Flying Dutchman and says, there's also that scene where he goes to the painted pirate, the pirate who says ooh and asks him how to tie his shoelace, but then the pirate says he cannot. And he also asks the Flying Dutchman in one scene, but then the Flying Dutchman cannot because the Flying Dutchman doesn't wear shoes, he wears socks. For some reason, I don't know. Anyway, SpongeBob does that having no one to tie his shoes until he finds out Daddy tied his shoes. And we did this really cool because Daddy kinda wears shoes and knows how to tie the shoes, so he ties the shoelaces. I did this really cool scene of the song Loop de Loop, the Loop de Loop song. That was really, really, really funny, really iconic. So yeah, so definitely a really major highlight, and that's and the episode pretty much ends with the Loop de Loop song, and SpongeBob tying shoelaces, and SpongeBob being happy knowing how to tie his shoelaces. So yeah. Next up we have is episode 21B, Squid's Day Off, aired February 17, 2001. In this episode, Mr. Krabs goes to the hospital and leaves Squidward in charge. So yeah, in this episode, basically, Mr. Krabs, he tries to this penny, that falls into the sink, but when he does it, his arm kinda rips apart, and then he has to go to the hospital and repair it. So they've Screwed in charge, but Screwed, kinda wants to, lays off and go back home, and so basically he leaves, SpongeBob in. So basically, he kind of just leaves SpongeBob there in the Trusty Trap, and then Screwed whenever he goes back home, trying to relax and whatnot. He always gets worried if SpongeBob. It's kind of like he goes in a mental madness and a breakdown where he kind of gets worried if SpongeBob something happened to the Trusty Trap, it got burned or something, or SpongeBob had happened. So he goes back and forth between the Trusty Trap and his house. And I like this like whole mentality scene of Squidward, being paranoid of things happening in the Trusty Trap. That was really cool. And yeah, I really like that. And there's also the bathtub scene where Squidward kind of he's in this bathtub, he's in his bathtub, and then he remembers the Thirsty Trap, and so he goes out, the Thirsty Trap naked, um, to the Thirsty Trap naked, and basically, uh, he goes to the Thirsty Trap, basically kind of naked, and then he enters the Thirsty Trap, and basically in this episode, the and Struded kind of just sees everything kind of go down. There's even this funny scene where he passes by the hospital and Mr. Travis' arm falls off, and then Mr. Travis goes back to the hospital. That was really funny. But yeah, basically in this episode, kind of just ends with everything being fine, and Struded just kind of dozes off a little bit. So, you know. Anyway, okay. Okay, question. Do you know these episodes by heart, or did you write down what you're saying? To answer your question, I do know these episodes a lot. I don't really write down. I kind of just, because I binge watched the show. The last 2 years, I watched like every single episode, and I do kind of remember everything that happens in the show. Like, I watched every single episode, and so I kind of just go by, looking at the episode, reading their plots, and remembering, everything that happened. It's kind of like more of a recap, to remember everything that happened, in some of these episodes. And now, if certain episodes I don't really remember, I'll kind of just split here and read some stuff, and I'll get a sense of deja vu here. So I think that's how to reply to your question. I don't really write. I didn't really write it down. I just kind of read the plot and um, basically just say, remember certain things. Now this is pre-movie season, so I mean, this is seasons 1 to 3. This is seasons 1 to 3. So basically, every single episode here is memorable. I can pretty much remember everything here. So yeah, thank you for asking. Oh, c'est super, ouais. Thank you. Merci beaucoup. Anyway, let's continue. 22A, Something Smells, aired October 2000. In this episode, SpongeBob meets a Sunday that gives him bad breath. So in this episode, basically, he tries SpongeBob, makes like this sundae, and when you think of the sundae, it's basically you think of this like ice cream. Think of the ice cream foundation where you have like this balls of ice cream with the banana and the chocolate and whatnot. But then SpongeBob's definition by sundae this time is that he kind of just pulls random stuff like ketchup and onions and certain things and kind of prepares that for them. But then this typical Sunday kind of gives him a bad breath, and he has always like a bad breath, and then he runs around Bikini Bottom. Everyone is paralyzed by this breath, and then ooh, you know, everyone is like dying of this bad breath, and kind of does have a relatable sense where everyone kind of like they have a bad breath. Everyone just kind of hates you for it. Then Patrick is like the only one who cannot smell these who cannot you cannot smell the bad breath. And then there we do have some interactions between SpongeBob and Patrick in this episode. We see SpongeBob and Patrick basically we'll see SpongeBob and Patrick basically, interacting, and Patrick telling SpongeBob that he should be proud of his bad breath and whatnot. And and basically we did this funny joke of oh yeah, the Patrick story of him saying there was an oddly born Nuttall. He was so oddly that everyone hated him. The end. Yeah, that joke. I think you know what I mean. Yeah. I think the joke. The whole oddly born Nuttall joke. That was really really iconic. Yeah. That everyone died. He was so oddly that everyone died. The end. Yeah, that was a really funny joke. And basically they go to the movie theaters together, and then SpongeBob has a bad breath, and Patrick also kind of obtains that breath, and then they kind of just destroy the movie theater with their breath and run around being proud, which I mean, yeah, kind of a weird ending, but really satisfying, I guess. Next readout is 22B, Bossy Boots, which aired on October 2000. In this episode, Pearl did a job at the Thirsty Trap and made some major changes to the place. So basically, Pearl comes in, Mr. Traps hires her as like, a temporary manager, like a manager for the Thirsty Trap. And then she makes some changes, like she turns the Thirsty Trap into like this, dream fiasco of hers, where she puts in some teddy bears and she makes Scrooge the clown, and she makes lots of changes, and she also when SpongeBob touches the patty, she tells him to remove the meat and only have salad. There are some certain changes here, and there are like lots of changes, and SpongeBob doesn't really know how to adapt to these changes, and so he basically just tries to get Pearl fired, but it turns out that Pearl actually didn't really want to run the Trusty Trap, so having Pearl get fired was actually kind of a good thing to her, so yeah. And then, the Trusty Trap returns to normal, and then SpongeBob gets all the stuff back. So yeah, that's a really, cool episode here, seeing SpongeBob and Pearl together, and SpongeBob adapting to the changes Pearl made to the Trusty Trap and whatnot, basically, yeah. Basically, really nice touch and change. So next episode we got is 23A, Between Closer, aired on February 3, 2001. In this episode, envious of SpongeBob's numerous awards, Patrick starts to act like SpongeBob and works at the Trusty Trap in an attempt to get his own award. So yeah, this episode is basically, it starts with Patrick, he meets SpongeBob's house, he meets SpongeBob in his house, and then he finds out he has numerous awards, and Patrick gets jealous, and so he tries to be like SpongeBob. He goes to the Trusty Trap, tries to get the job, and then we get funny jokes. I'm sure you all heard this one where Patrick tries to saw this one. Patrick serves a customer. First he serves him an empty tray, because he eat the food, and then he gives him the tray, but then he sits down and eats the food. Patrick not knowing how to do his job, not knowing how to mop the floor, and even and Natasha registered when someone, phone calls, is this a Trusty Trap? No, this is Patrick. Is this a Trusty Trap? No, this is Patrick. Yeah, that funny joke, yeah, is in this episode, yeah. And basically, yeah, that was a really funny joke, and basically, there's also this whole opening a jar scene where they try to open the jar, and when Patrick does it, they kind of celebrate. It's like yay, hooray! But then Patrick takes things too far by wearing SpongeBob's outfit and trying to be like him, and he imitates him, which kind of annoys SpongeBob. And then they try to go back home. They try to race. And then they kind of find out. I don't remember. I think it ends with them finding out. Let me see. How does it end really? Just gonna look briefly. How does it end? I remember he was kind of chasing. Yeah, I remember the scene where he was kind of chasing him. Oh, okay. So by only made Smarted more certain the fact that his old self has nothing to do but a big loser, as it turns out. However, the next awards to arrive when Patrick initially thinks it is for SpongeBob, then is actually for the person who won it for absolutely doing nothing longer than anyone else. Oh yeah, so Patrick basically, I remember. So he basically gets this award of him just basically doing nothing else, more than just basically doing absolutely nothing more than anyone else, and then it's for Patrick. SpongeBob is proud, and Patrick just decides to protect it and goes back to his rot, returning to his lazy self, and to his lazy self because that's how he got the award. So yeah. All right, let's continue. Episode 23B, Bubble Buddy, aired February 3, 2001. So in this episode, SpongeBob creates a bubble friend after seeing that everyone else is busy. So yeah, basically, this we know the iconic Bubble Buddy character. SpongeBob creates him. When he tries to go with his friends, he tries to have a he tries to go out with his friends, have fun, but everyone else is busy. Patrick is not there. Screwdriver is busy. Sandy's also busy, and everyone else. So basically, SpongeBob all alone. He creates a Bubble Buddy friend, and Bubble Buddy Bubble Buddy he's basically this this he's basically this bubble in the shape of a man, and so Bubble Buddy he first starts off as like this object that's not yet sentient. Like he doesn't really thought, and SpongeBob kind of carries him around, and then he also carried them to the Trusty Trap as a friend, and he kind of annoys Mr. Krabs and Squidward, by telling him they should add this and add that, and then basically when they go to the beach, everyone that's annoyed, like Bubble takes a lot of the line in the toilet, and then everyone that's annoyed by him and all that. So basically, Squidward, joins in with everyone, creating, trying to pop Bubble Buddy. He uses the needle, trying to pop him, and SpongeBob tries to stop them, but he fails. And when Strudel tries to pop him, Bubblebuddy becomes sentient, grabs Strudel's arm and tells him not to. And so basically, Bubblebuddy, says hi to SpongeBob, telling him, giving high friendship to SpongeBob, and then he does off. And he does off voyaging experience with Strudel regretting, him trying to pop Bubblebuddy. So yeah, this is really, really funny. I found it, and you know, kind of leaves a smile on the face, doesn't it? Anyway, next we have is 24A, Dying for Pie, aired on January 27, 2001. In this episode, Strudel gives SpongeBob a pie that later turns out to be explosive. So yeah, basically, this episode, really is just, I remember it fully. Basically, in this episode, they do, it's another day they go to work, and then, it turns out it's a give a diff to employee day, but SpongeBob has tried, giving Strudel the diff, this like sweater thing. But then Strudel kind of feels bad, he has to give SpongeBob a gift, and then he finds these pirates. Basically, they have these pies that are tiny they're explosives. They kind of warn him, but Strudel doesn't care at first. Only to later find out that the pie is indeed explosive, and Mr. Krabs and Strudel realize it, but then SpongeBob kind of takes the pie, and they assume that SpongeBob ate the pie, and so they assume that SpongeBob ate the pie, and then Strudel gets paranoid, thinking that, oh, this might be, it might be over until SpongeBob dies. Might be just a while until SpongeBob dies, and so he goes out trying to do like the bucket list of SpongeBob, many things before SpongeBob is dead. We get to see, him going out, in a salmon, having a heart surgery with SpongeBob, lots of different things. And then we get to see this, heart-to-heart scene with them lying on the ground, observing the sunset, and Strudel being afraid there will be SpongeBob's end doom. Strudel built a wall, thinking that he's gonna explode, and then when he explodes, it turns out it was just a bubble. It was just a bubble bomb. But then it turns out that SpongeBob never ate the pie, and he actually kept it along all the time with him. And while he was trying to eat it, it kind of just the pie smashes to Strudel's face, making this big explosion. And the episode ends with Strudel saying "ow," say "ow," say "ow." Next is 24B, Imitation Crabs, aired on January 27, 2001. In this episode, Plankton disguises himself as a robot version of Mr. Krabs and attempts to steal the Tri-Patty secret formula. So yeah, this episode, basically we get to see Plankton again. He tries to try to get the formula again, and he first tries to do like this Tin Man die, but then, when he asks for but then, he gets foiled by Mr. Krabs again, and so Plankton takes this idea of him imposing as Mr. Krabs, and then Mr. Krabs, he sends him away by having him in this fries. He sends him away, and then Plankton. And then Plankton, builds this robot Krabs where he disguises himself as Mr. Krabs. Himself as a robot version of Mr. Krabs, and SpongeBob and Strudel think that he is Mr. Krabs. First of all, he tells Strudel to just take the day off and then time off, and then Strudel just goes away. And then, he doses SpongeBob, trying to convince him of the Tri-Patty, trying to get from him the Tri-Patty secret formula. But then SpongeBob kinda does, things with him, like, having this hot toto, drinking hot toto, jumping around, singing and whatnot. And, really funny until the point where Plankton kinda snaps out of it. But then the real Mr. Krabs comes along, trying to tell SpongeBob that this is not him, but then SpongeBob tries to prove it. But then, Mr. Krabs kind of forgot the menu. SpongeBob shoots him torture sauce, leaving the real Mr. Krabs away. But then, when the robot version comes, SpongeBob is about to hand him the formula. But then, when he gave him Penny exchange, it kind of self-destructed the robot, and realizing there was Plankton all along, and then seeing Mr. Krabs and Pedals, SpongeBob rescues him, and basically, ending with SpongeBob apologizing to Mr. Krabs for not knowing who he really is. So yeah, next without is 25A, Wormy, aired on February 24, 2001. In this episode, Patrick and SpongeBob take care of Sandy's pet caterpillar. Caterpillars. Yeah, sorry. So basically, in this episode, SpongeBob and Patrick go to the tree dome again, and they see Sandy, but then Sandy, has to go away for a while, and then she has them take care of her worm pet, her caterpillar pet. And so, they take care, and SpongeBob and Patrick like it. They think it's cute. They have this entire amazing day with Wormy, and, they have such an amazing day. But then, when it's night, they go back home until Wormy kind of evolves. You see the life cycle of the caterpillar. The caterpillar turns into the pupa, and then the pupa emerges from it a butterfly. So basically, the caterpillar transforms into a butterfly, and then when SpongeBob Patrick go back home, they assume that the butterfly was a creature who ate Wormy, who ate Sandy's pet caterpillar, despite the fact that basically the worm was just basically the butterfly is just the caterpillar, at his age. And so they kind of freak out, and they try to deter him, only to just have him in bubble and follow them with Bikini Bottom. And then they go to the Trusty Trap. They get a little bit afraid of the war of the caterpillar, not the butterfly. Yeah, the butterfly. And then when Mr. Krabs and Squidward run away, they assume that thing ate them, and then the thing kind of goes around Bikini Bottom, SpongeBob and Patrick warn them about, and everyone gets afraid of it, to the point where it treats habit. But then Sandy comes back knowing that, it's actually Wormy, and not that butterfly is actually Wormy. So SpongeBob and Patrick and the rest of Bikini Bottoms don't know that that the Wormy is the butterfly, but then Sandy knows that, so she basically has Wormy in the jar, and then everyone congratulates, being like, yay Sandy, you did it. So yeah, not knowing the fact that like Wormy is the butterfly itself. So yeah, and it's without 25B, Patty Hype, aired on February 24, 2001. This episode SpongeBob creates Pretty Patties. Now, I mean, there's more to this episode than just him creating Pretty Patties, but we'll get to it. So basically, this episode kind of starts in this like dull gray area, the dull gray vision of the Trusty Trap, and basically SpongeBob, Mr. Krabs is dating lots of customers, and SpongeBob is giving Mr. Krabs an idea of him using the Pretty Patties. So basically, the Pretty Patties are basically the tri patties, but in different colors. It's kind of like the French macaron. I think it's called macaron. Yeah, it's like the French macaron, where it's like this pastry with different colors. Yeah, the Pretty Patties are kind of like it, but like with patties in different colors, and SpongeBob gives him this idea of having it, but then Mr. Krabs and Scrooge ridicule this idea, and they don't like it. So basically, SpongeBob goes away and starts to create it at his own house, but then, the Pretty Patties take more attention, whereas the Trusty Trap isn't getting any customers. But then, isn't creating any customers. But then when the Pretty Patties get hyped up and everyone loves them, Mr. Krabs gets jealous, and so, he tries to take over the money. And then SpongeBob kinda refuses, but then when Mr. Krabs gives him the tea the golden tea to the Trusty Trap and the petals and everything, SpongeBob, loves it, and then he goes back to the Trusty Trap happily, and Mr. Krabs, sells the Pretty Patties, he is happy selling the Pretty Patties with the money. But then the next day, it turns out that the Pretty Patties have an effect by turning people's, skins and wares and whatnot. It turns, it has them, merge in colors, and people get upset about it. So, it has them transforming colors, and people get upset about it, to the point where they follow Mr. Krabs away. Mr. Krabs starts, running away from them, and they create a rainbow following him, and then While Mr. Krabs is being chased, trying to tell SpongeBob open, SpongeBob is inside, listening to piddle sounds, and that's how the episode ends. So yeah, well, just a minute. No, just a minute. Yeah, so basically I'm talking a lot here and trying to let's alright, so let's continue. Episode 26A, Drama's Thesis, aired on April 28, 2001. So in this episode, SpongeBob decides that he should act more grown up around his grandmother. So basically, in this episode starts with SpongeBob spending his day with his grandmother. He's treated like a kid. He loves chocolate. He dates. He has a bedtime story. He dates kisses from his grandmother, and then when he goes to the ward, his grandmother kisses him. His grandmother kisses him, and kisses him, in the tussie trap. But then everyone kind of makes fun of the kiss, and so SpongeBob is humiliated by it, and then he does trying to prove that he's mature, that he's a grown up, and so basically he does with Patrick acting all mature, but then Patrick kind of just acts like a kid, eating all the titties and whatnot, eating all the titties and acting like a kid, being yeah, yay, ha ha ha, taking everything he wants. Then SpongeBob kind of gets jealous of that, you know, you know, and having since having the grandmother sing to him and whatnot, and then SpongeBob gets kind of jealous of that, and then basically SpongeBob kind of ends up crying about it, the point where crying about it, being jealous, and that he wants all of it, and then Drama reassures him that she will always love him no matter how mature he gets, and basically for some reason the episode just ends for some reason with Strudel and the others outside of the window laughing at him. I'm like, what? Yeah, it shows me there. Try to have a bite here. So yeah, it's kind of a weird ending. Like Strudel and the others just kind of outside the grandmother's house laughing at SpongeBob. I'm like, I just find that you left at the trusty travel. Like, why did you just follow the guy? Like, why did you follow him to his grandmother's house and just laugh at him from the outside? Like, is 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 SpongeBob not allowed to love his grandmother? Like, what? Like, I would generally give anything to see my grandmother. Honestly, like yeah. Like, isn't like SpongeBob isn't allowed to love his grandmother? Like, why is he being ridiculed? I just don't see that. So yeah. So that kind of is a weird thing, but that's the episode. So yeah, next we got is 26B Squidville, aired on April 28, 2001. In this episode, Squidward grows tired of his neighbors and moves to Tentacle Acres. So this episode basically, we did this We did this line of "I hate this channel." Basically, SpongeBob and Patrick play with a leaf blower, destroys Scrooge's furniture, Scrooge's house a tiny little bit, and then his TV kind of falls off. Introducing tentacle haters, and then Patrick turns off saying, "I hate this channel." But then Scrooge, that's impressed by the place, and so he goes there and moves away to tentacle haters and starts living the life he's always dreamed of. A life with no SpongeBob and Patrick, a life where he can do whatever he wants, like riding bicycles, dancing, playing the clarinet, shopping, dancing, playing the clarinet, and that continues all the way. And that continues, Spirit having his perfect life until he kind of gets bored of it and not knowing what to do. To the point where he kind of does feel like he misses SpongeBob and Patrick a little bit. And then SpongeBob and Patrick do come to a tentacle 8 years a little bit. And Patrick disables the doors by just, with his bad breath, and then they go inside. But then Strudel kind of gets crazy when he sees, someone with a leaf blower, and then he takes the leaf blower away and starts messing around in tentacle 8 years with it, where it makes everyone angry. Then they ambush Strudel, and Strudel just, flies away with the leaf blower, with SpongeBob Patrick just, saying, "Wow, Strudel, sure knows how to play." So, I don't know if if he really said that, but I'm pretty sure the episode ended with SpongeBob and Patrick saying something while Strudel's flying away. But this is just me kind of recapping of memories, because to be honest, I haven't seen these episodes in like 2 years. It's been 2 years since I've seen these episodes, so I'm trying to recap everything here because I binge watched these episodes back in 2 years ago. Binge watching, from seasons 1 till the latest season, which was, at that time, though, it was season 13 at that time, back in 2022, but back in 2022 at that time, yeah, it was season 13, the latest season, now it's season 14, yeah. So next without is 27A, pre-hibernation meet, and this aired on May 5, 2001. This episode said the SpongeBob played its team sporting games before Sandy has to hibernate. So pretty much, you all know hibernation is basically this phase of the winter where mammals, they eat as much as they could until they basically, things like squirrels and chipmunks and whatnot. They basically, eat. They basically, eat a lot. They gather food, to eat, and then basically their hibernation is that they stay indoors sleeping throughout the winter because it's too cold for them because it's very low temperature for them. And so basically in this episode Sandy tries to prepare for hibernation. It's 1 week before hibernation, and she goes out in its team sports teams with SpongeBob, but then Sandy does take it too far. She does SpongeBob, and she does with SpongeBob. She does with SpongeBob a little bit, and she tries to she does with SpongeBob a little bit, and then she does extreme sports like having him in the night, like launching him, and while he's sleeping, launching him to the river, but kind of freezes him, which pretty much freezes him, and then having him fall off planes and going to the industrial part. Yeah, this episode also is the rotation of the industrial part. If you don't know, in Battle for Bikini Bottom, when SpongeBob fights Robo Patrick, yeah, that location where he fights Robo Patrick, it's basically industrial part, which is in this episode where they go to that part, which is really cool. And then basically also has SpongeBob finding like Sandy puts like a haystack in a pit of needles, and so kind of like the whole needle in the haystack kind of thing was, instead it's Sandy putting the haystack in a pit of needles, but then as SpongeBob tries to find it, he gets injured by the things, and so SpongeBob is very is very uncomfortable, and he wants that off, and then he escapes from Sandy. He hides under Patrick's route, and then Sandy gets mad. She forces everyone to look for SpongeBob. And then while she's trying to force everyone, she basically... Wait, what? Disconnected? Uh, I think... Okay, okay. No, no, never mind. Oh, never mind. Anyway, so basically, Sandy runs to SpongeBob, and then, when, he tries to tell her that he cannot do any more of these themes, she just begins sleeping because, hibernation has started, and then, SpongeBob sleeps with her, and then Patrick just comes home saying, "Oh, what are you people doing here?" And the episode ends. So, yeah. 27B, Life of Crime, aired on May 5, 2001. In this episode, SpongeBob and Patrick are under the impression that they have stolen a balloon on Free Balloon Day. So, yeah, in this episode, basically, SpongeBob and Patrick learn about stealing in movies and whatnot, and then they kind of we see like this thief stealing stuff in like a movie, and then Mr. Krabs, tries to like be like, oh, thieves, they're terrible, even though Mr. Krabs himself has stolen certain things. And then Mr. Krabs himself stolen certain things, making him quite hypocritical. And then basically, but Mr. Krabs kind of lies about certain things, and stuff. So yeah, basically in this episode, they do Mr. Krabs stole SpongeBob, but basically saying, oh, he borrowed it, even though he just stole it, but yeah. And SpongeBob and Patrick continue their day, freely until they see a balloon and they try to get it. But then, even though it's free balloon day, balloons are free, but SpongeBob and Patrick, by taking the balloon, they think they stole it, and basically they run away from Bikini Bottom, assuming that they're in a life of crime. And then there's this scenes with Patrick, and basically they have this chocolate, and then Patrick eats, they give each other chocolates. Patrick eats his chocolates, and he also accuses SpongeBob of eating his chocolate even though he already ate it. I don't know, because Patrick's dumb. And so, they go on this confrontation against each other, and they tell each other to the police, so they go to the police station, and then they confess about the balloon stealing. The police have them, like, in cage for, like, 2 seconds, and then they did them out, and, reveal to them that it was actually Free Balloon Day, and that they didn't commit any crime, so SpongeBob and Patrick are relieved, with it, and they are pretty relieved with this, and the day passes by with the French narrator closing it off as usual. So yeah. Alright, next without is episode 28. So yeah, this doesn't have an A and B because episode 28, so basically this is our first special in the show. So for those of you who don't know, basically a special a special in SpongeBob is basically an episode that is longer. Now, an episode that is basically a 20-minute episode, like a full length 20-minute episode. And as you see here, like 27A, 27B, basically it's like 20 minutes combined, with this 27A being 11 minutes and 27B being 11 minutes. Combine them, you get 22 minutes of an episode. Combining them, you get 22 minutes of an episode. And so basically 28 is basically the 22, an episode that is 22 minutes. That is 22 minutes. Now some people could also say that any episode that's longer than 11 minutes might be counted as specials, as we'll see later. But basically, yeah, 28. Episode 28, Christmas 2, is our very first special on the show. So this episode aired on December 7, 2000. In this episode, SpongeBob learns about the traditions of Christmas and spreads it around Bikini Bottom, but SpongeBob thinks it's a figment of his imagination. So basically, what's interesting about this episode is that we get introduced to Patchy the Pirate. Now, I'll first talk about the SpongeBob side of things, then now the Patchy side of things. So basically, in this episode, SpongeBob side of things is that he does, because most of the specials, you get like a certain specials, you do have like the SpongeBob story and then the Patchy story. Patchy the pirate is basically this pirate character. This pirate character is like a huge fan of SpongeBob, and he's played by Tom Tenney. He's played by Tom Tenney. Tom Tenney, does absolutely amazing performance, And he has this sassy Patty the parrot who's always nagging at Patchy, being like, "Oh, Patchy, don't do this," and all that stuff. And yeah, so basically, in this episode, I'll first get into the SpongeBob side of things, and then we'll get to Patchy. So in the SpongeBob story, basically, he goes to Sandy, meets Sandy one day until he finds out that Sandy is preparing for Christmas. Christmas. So basically, she has this tree, and then SpongeBob and Bikini Bottoms don't know what Christmas is. So Sandy explains to them what Christmas is by telling them the story. By telling them, Sandy tells SpongeBob of everything. Santa Claus, the reindeers, the gifts, and all that Christmas things. And then SpongeBob tries to share it with everyone at Bikini Bottom. And while everyone, likes, and he spreads it everywhere in Bikini Bottom, and everyone likes the idea, and they write their wishes on a bottle of paper. But then Squidward, thinks like it's just a hallucination, it's just the imagination, it's not real and whatnot. And SpongeBob, tries to convince Squidward and whatnot, but Squidward doesn't like it. And basically, they sing this song, it's the very first Christmas to me, that song. And after the song ends, they kind of wait. They say, Santa's coming. Then they wait until the next day, Santa doesn't show up, and then, everyone that's mad and then leaves. And then, SpongeBob that's depressed, thinking that, SpongeBob that's sad and depressed, thinking that, it's all fate. And then Strudel, is happy a little bit for thinking that, he's right. But then, when he sees SpongeBob, he kinda it's bad, and so it's bad. He feels bad for him, and so Strudel tries to make it up by Strudel, disguises himself as actually Santa Claus with him wearing the beard and the outfit, and so basically. And so basically, Strudel, and then Strudel tries to help SpongeBob by giving him what he wants, and basically, and when the Bikini Bottomites show up, thinking it's Santa, Strudel just gives them his entire furniture, everything he has, that's related to their problems, and so Squidward kind of just sells everything out, and then basically after selling it. And now Strudel is satisfied that he made SpongeBob happy and all that stuff. And then Strudel gets a letter from the real Santa Claus. Strudel actually sees the real Santa Claus. And I forgot to mention that SpongeBob actually gave a gift to Squidward. This whole clarinet, the wooden clarinet earlier. Strudel also receives a gift and a letter from. Strudel receives a letter from Santa Claus. Santa Claus congratulates him. The real Santa Claus shows up, away, where he congratulates Squidward, for his achievements, of giving gifts to Bikini Bottom, and so basically, Squidward just goes inside, playing the clarinet as the episode ends, ending the SpongeBob story side of this episode. So now let's get to the Patchy story side of this episode. So basically, it is introduced to Patchy the pirate and his pirate friend Patty the parrot. So basically, in this episode, Patchy gets introduced as this big #1 SpongeBob fan, and to celebrate Christmas, Patchy wants to give SpongeBob a gift for Christmas, and he gives him this letter, but then it doesn't read much in underwater, and Patchy tries to prepare things for Christmas by having this, but then Patty is there kind of ruining it and all that certain things. And he kind of tries to make, phone calls and whatnot to Santa Claus. And then Patty, and then, you have these segments between Patchy and Patty, really funny. I like their dynamics and whatnot. And then basically, he also tells Patty that one moment, which is really funny. And he tries to bake like this steak dough, and then And then he and Patty kinda argue about Christmas and whatnot and whatnot. Let me kind of remember. How did the Patty segments end exactly? I think it ended by. Oh yeah, he lives in Encino, yeah, California. He lives in a city called it's Encino, California. I forgot to mention that. And he bakes Christmas cookies in a dough eat. Patchy also takes time to open a letter from a fan who asks if SpongeBob likes Christmas as much as he does. Patchy muttered that there was once a time when Bikini Bottom was unheard and decides to tell the tale, which I already told the story. I basically told the story of Bikini Bottom not knowing what Christmas is. And so basically, in the epilogue, after finishing the story, Patchy has to deal with Potty perching on his head. However, it turns out the parrot merely lays him a gift of goodwill. Oh yeah, he lays him the ads, yeah, which touches Patchy's heart. Patchy then proceeds to step under the mistletoe, inviting the ladies to come by for a smooch, only for Patty to start whooping after him with Patchy preoccupied. The narrators round things up, off by wishing a good night and happy holidays to end the special. So yeah, the special just ends, with Patchy being occupied with everything, and then and then the narrator wishing everyone happy holidays. So yeah, all right. So that's our first special Christmas Who, and I will be excited to narrate more specials in the near future. All right, next is we got episode 29A, Survival of the Idiots, aired on March 17, 2001. In this episode, SpongeBob and Patty get trapped in Sandy's tree dome during the winter. So basically, this is the episode where Sandy actually hibernates in this episode. So yeah. So basically, SpongeBob and Patrick they go to Sandy's home. Trying to visit Sandy once, and basically trying to visit Sandy at her home, and basically when they did there, they found out that Sandy is hibernating because it's winter in her side. And so they go to the snow, and basically, since Sponge and Patrick, snow is water, Sponge and Patrick are able to breathe it, so since they don't need their helmets. And then basically they goof off around, they play stuff, they play with their stuffs, and then they play with the snow, and we have SpongeBob and Patrick playing, as you just said, Pinhead Larry and Dirty Dan. Everyone, SpongeBob and Patrick pointing each other, you're Pinhead Larry, you're Dirty Dan. This theme of theirs, and really funny. Then Sandy, who's like this overweight, because I think she ate too much. Since you hibernate, you eat too much. You eat a lot so that you're full when you're sleeping. So basically, Sandy wakes up, as this like giant, well, as this like giant squirrel, as this like giant squirrel here, and then she attacks SpongeBob and Patrick a lot, and then she attacks SpongeBob and Patrick all the time, and then she goes back to her sleeping, and SpongeBob and Patrick are outside, freezing to death. So they go and steal Sandy's fur to cover themselves and have that. But then the next day, winter's dawn, it's spring, and Sandy wakes up only to see that her fur is being stolen by SpongeBob and Patrick, and so she just uses them as furs as the episode ends. So yeah, as the episode ends like that. So yeah, 29B dumped aired on May 11, 2001. Oh, so we have the first time of two episodes airing a different time for the first time here. Okay, that's really cool. So Dumped aired on May 11, 2001. In this episode, SpongeBob jealous that Daddy wants to spend time with Patrick. So yeah, basically the episode starts with SpongeBob and Patrick and Daddy having fun with each other, but then Daddy, sits down with Patrick a lot, and he's with Patrick a lot, to the point where SpongeBob kinda wants Daddy to come back, but then Patrick insists on keeping Daddy with him. And Patrick, adds a lot more dirty in the episode and wants Daddy to be with him all the time, and the point where it kinda leaves SpongeBob to be sad and depressed and alone, and trying to find out a way to get Daddy back, but it doesn't work. And so basically he tries to get like new pets. He tried to do like with the Larry, or like Larry the worm. Like he tries to get a worm, but then the worm just leaves, and then he tries to get like Larry a snail, but then he wouldn't. decide, and then he just kind of leaves, and it leaves SpongeBob in a sad state, trying to find out, and then Patrick just kind of adds quite antagonistic, antagonistic against, leaving SpongeBob his pet snail, and then basically when he put his pants on the dryer on the washing machine, it turns out that Daddy was there because Patrick had it in his pants, and then after he ate it, Daddy's back to SpongeBob, and SpongeBob is happy, leaving Patrick in sad dismay as the episode ends. So yeah, next that is episode 30A, No Free Rides, aired on April 14, 2001. This episode, Mrs. Puff passes SpongeBob just so she doesn't have to deal with him. So basically, in this episode, this is our second boating school episode after boating school from season one. So in this episode, basically, SpongeBob, it's yet another day. SpongeBob, is driving, having a driving test, and Mrs. Puff doesn't want to deal with SpongeBob anymore, so she just passes him. She just says you've passed, without giving him an actual test. But then Mrs. Puff feels bad about it, thinking that SpongeBob might go around destroy the town. SpongeBob, they also congratulate him with his parents also showing up, giving him the boat, giving SpongeBob a new boat that he finally passed his license, even though Mrs. Puff only did it just so that she can get SpongeBob away from her. And Mrs. Puff kind of feels bad, feels bad for it, and she tries to get feels bad for it, thinking that SpongeBob might cause damage there. It does damage with his reckless driving again. So basically, she takes the car away. Then SpongeBob touches on her, as a boat thief because she's wearing a mask. And then SpongeBob, we have, this chase scene of SpongeBob trying to touch her. And then, and when he touches her, he finds out that Mrs. Puff is the actual, person stealing his boat. And then they kind of trash in the police, and then Mrs. Puff gets arrested for basically, stealing SpongeBob's boat as the episode ends. So yeah, I count it. Next to that is 30B, I'm Your Buddhist Fanatic, aired on April 14, 2001. In this episode, SpongeBob attempts to join the Jelly Spotters. So yeah, basically this episode opens up with SpongeBob and Patrick in a jellyfish convention, and basically Patrick doing, certain stuff like touching stuff. But then SpongeBob, meets, his hero, someone he idolizes, and his name is Tevin Steve Tutenberg. Tevin the Tutenberg is like this Tutenberg. He's like this Tutenberg character who's like very arrogant and just sees himself as the best. And basically, SpongeBob tries to be SpongeBob his biggest fan you know tries to work with him. Then Tevin just laughs, thinking that SpongeBob is just SpongeBob is just the ha ha SpongeBob. He wants to get rid of him, and so they go to the so they go jellyfishing, and basically and then basically SpongeBob does multiple attempts of jellyfishing that doesn't really impress Tevin all that much. And then they try to catch teen jellyfish, so basically Tevin uses SpongeBob as bait for teen jellyfish, as they tie SpongeBob up. They tie him up as bait, but Tevin and his minions just leave. And then basically when teen jellyfish shows up, and basically when a jellyfish shows up, SpongeBob runs away only to find out that Tevin and his minions were were in a robot jellyfish, were in a fake jellyfish trying to touch SpongeBob, because just to see that he's a loser. But then the actual teen jellyfish shows up and he takes them down, and then they hide in a cave. And Tevin, he's just this phony guy, and then he's just this phony guy. He gets embarrassed and and ashamed, and oh no. But then basically, SpongeBob steps up and he beats Teen Jellyfish by just giving him, a bubble pie, and then which he feels delicious over, and so Teen Jellyfish goes away, leaving everyone unharmed. And the anchovies celebrate SpongeBob's victory, and Tevin, still thinks he's a loser. The anchovies just drown him, they drown instead, and the episode just ends with Patrick having, this jellyfish mascot tied up on the wagon, and just, them going out. SpongeBob, learning. So yeah, definitely really iconic. Shows, how don't really, it's not really a comforting feeling to meet your heroes. Basically they may turn out not very good people, which is kind of a thing in real life, not gonna lie. Certain people we look up to do end up being worse than we expect, so yeah. Well, this episode kind of shows that, so yeah. I do appreciate it for that, so yeah. Alright guys, I'm gonna be right back. I'll be I'll be right back. So far, I've done the first part of season 2. Just the only thing that didn't happen in this thing. I think the seasons are kind of a little too long, so I'll just do a recap. So my recap is just gonna be each season per season, yeah, because they kind of go on for a whole longer. Alright, so next, alright, I'm back. So next we got is episode 31A, Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy 3, which aired on September 14, 2001. In this episode, SpongeBob Patrick accidentally freed the evil Mandrake. So this episode starts with SpongeBob Patrick down to Merman and Barnacle Boy. Well, for a Merman and Barnacle Boy episode, Merman and Barnacle Boy they don't show up a lot in this. They don't show up a lot, only in the beginning of this episode. So basically, they go to the Merman Lair cave. It's a secret lair of Merman and Barnacle Boy hidden in a cave. And they're excited to guard it, and Merman and Barnacle Boy gives them the instructions to guard it. While they're out, they're away. And so SpongeBob and Patrick are left there to guard the Merman Lair, only to stumble upon the evil Man Ray who's frozen there. And so they accidentally free him. And Mandarin acts all evil and I'm gonna tell you, but then SpongeBob Patrick, decide to teach him how to be good. And so, they try to do several methods. Like there's this, famous wallet joke of the wallet joke, where Patrick dubs his wallet and tries to and Mandarin tries to give it to Patrick, but then Patrick is dumb and thinks, whose wallet is that? He's like that, which kinda enders Mandre, which pretty much enders Mandre. And then also every misstep Mandre makes against Patrick, basically results in Mandre tittling. There's a torture device when his belt, there's like a tittling device where you press a button, you title Mandre gets tittled, ha 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 ha, only until later it kinda malfunctions, and then they try to stop, and then Mandre escapes, and then they try to stop him, but with the ball, but then the ball just kind of stuns them, and Mandre escapes trying to do it to a band, but then he realizes that SpongeBob Patrick actually taught him how to be good, and so he promises, and then he takes off his hat and then leaves. And then leaves with SpongeBob while Patrick is still. The episode ends with Patrick still in the stunning form of the orb. So yeah. Next we got is 31B, Squirrel Jokes, aired on September 14, 2001. SpongeBob tells Squirrel jokes, offending Sandy and amusing everyone else. So yeah, basically in this episode, SpongeBob, in this episode he is, he there's like this comedy show at the Thirsty Trap, the Thirsty Tribe is making like this comedy show, and SpongeBob is hired there as a comedian and tries to make people laugh, but none of his jokes are working. And he's trying to find a way for people to laugh and whatnot. So basically, SpongeBob resorts to making squirrel jokes. He makes jokes kind of like and he makes jokes that are kind of pretty offensive to squirrels, and but they do make everyone else laugh, and SpongeBob is happy about that. And this Steiner does take Steiner does reflect on real life matters. Sometimes there are comedians who would make racist jokes. And this Steiner does reflect on it. Where it's like now I don't want to get too much into topics, but I will say that this does reflect on the whole making racist jokes, and offending others, and offending others of certain things. Certain things. This episode kind of reflects on that, and I think they really, and I think it's really handled well. And basically these scroll jokes kind of pretty much offend Sandy, and then make everyone else laugh. Then Sandy tries to tell SpongeBob that he should stop with these jokes because she doesn't like to hear them, and she wants SpongeBob to like think up with better jokes. And SpongeBob tries to do it, and SpongeBob tries to do it. He has like this oath trying to not joke squirrels and trying to pull out any joke he can, but nobody laughs at it. Only until he pulls out squirrel jokes. He kind of breaks the promise, pulls out squirrel jokes, and then squirrel jokes of squirrels are dumb, and all that stuff. So basically, the episode, pretty much, continues as SpongeBob, continuously making, this squirrel jokes. Squirrel jokes, and then Sandy gets offended, so she teaches SpongeBob a lesson. So when SpongeBob comes to her home, Sandy just, acts dumb and fills SpongeBob with water, and, soaks him up. And so, to teach him a lesson to not make any more squirrel jokes, because, to show him, oh, you think squirrels are dumb? I'll show you dumb, it's kind of like that. And basically just inflates him with water, showing that he should not do any more squirrel jokes, and SpongeBob promises he won't do it. So SpongeBob luckily finds other jokes to do, and then and which makes people laugh, and then SpongeBob and Sandy have a great moment of staring at each other, knowing that SpongeBob won't use squirrel jokes anymore, or jokes that are offensive to squirrels like Sandy. So yeah, really cool. Definitely reflective upon certain comedians. This is kind of a real life thing. Certain comedians they do kind of racist jokes just to make others laugh and whatnot, which kind of figures on that. With prejudice. Things that are kind of a little bit prejudiced towards certain races, and they do exist in real life. I'm not gonna lie, but some people out there do think that racism is just comedy to them, and this episode does reflect on that, and basically the topic of racism or bigotry or prejudice. Also, that our next episode 32A, Pressure, aired on May 12, 2001. SpongeBob and Sandy compete to see whether land or sea creatures are better. So yeah, basically, this episode is basically kind of seeing, oh, is this creature better, or that creature is better, land or sea, which kind of is like kind of like comparing certain races and whatnot. So basically, SpongeBob and Sandy, they basically have this nice outing together until they they have this nice outside, they're outside together handing out, only to find out that only to know that they now compete against who's better, the land creatures or the sea creatures. SpongeBob is sea and Sandy is land. So basically, they do race to the Trusty Trap, and then they end up there. And then SpongeBob joins with Patrick, Mr. Krabs, and Squidward, telling Sandy that they sea creatures, bragging about them sea creatures being better than the land, and instead trying to show them that land is better. So basically the sea creatures, SpongeBob, Patrick, Squidward, and Mr. Krabs, they have Sandy, they have Sandy, they dare Sandy to breathe underwater, and Sandy couldn't do it. They have it in a jar, and Sandy does the same thing, so they go to the surface. And basically, when SpongeBob and Mr. Krabs and Patrick and Squidward go out, they go out in this form of like plastic puppets. It's kind of like these plastic puppets on with the sticks. They walked on this island, thinking, oh hey, it's not bad. But then they treated by this bird that tries to eat them until Sandy comes in, rescues them, and then they come back to Bikini Bottom, and then SpongeBob and his friends apologize to how they treated Sandy and swear that they will never do it, and that swear that they will never do it, and agree that both land and sea creatures are amazing on their own, are both amazing and magnificent on their own. And the episode pretty much ends with them being like hip hip yay, and so yeah, really fun. Next we got 32B, The Smoking Peanut, which aired on May 12, 2001. In this episode, SpongeBob throws a peanut at a clam, telling it to throw a tantrum. So in this episode, basically, SpongeBob and Patrick visit like this, exhibition. It's kind of like it's exhibition where they go to this like clam thing, in the stadium with the clam, and basically, SpongeBob, eats peanut butters, and when they are there, SpongeBob, tries to throw peanut butter to feed the clam, but then the clam gets upset and around, wails around, annoying everyone on the planet. And then when everyone is annoyed by the clam's wailings, SpongeBob, thinks that he is guilty. SpongeBob, thinks that he's guilty of it all. He's guilty. He's guilty of it all. He kind of goes in this uncomfortable state, and Patrick does, being like this detective trying to figure it out. And then he kind of taunts SpongeBob for a little bit, but then the police think that Patrick is the one who did it. And so they have him imprisoned there, and SpongeBob feels bad and goes out and basically SpongeBob convinces everyone that he's the one who caused this because he threw the peanut at the clam. But then they found out the real reason, and the real reason behind it is that its pearl is missing. The clam's pearl is like its egg counterpart. It's not like its egg counterpart, and it's missing. And it turns out that Mr. Krabs stole it. The Mr. Krabs actually stole it, and then the pearl returns, and then the clam is happy, with its pearl returning to it, knowing that SpongeBob was not guilty at all. And basically, the episode ends with Mr. Krabs being blamed by everyone for being thrown peanuts at, for causing the whole drama after stealing her pearl. So yeah. Alright, so next episode, this is gonna be a different episode, an interesting one. So, you remember those specials that I said, they're longer than 11 minutes? Well, this episode, is 33A and 33B. However, this one is much longer, where this one is, kind of short. 33A, Shanghai, aired on March 9, 2001. It has a syndicated thought, but, aired on March 9, 2001. And this episode, Screwed, Patrick, and SpongeBob board the Flying Dutchman's ship. So in this episode, we get to see the Flying Dutchman's ship in its entirety. So basically, we do also have patchy segments in this episode as well. Like I said, I'll first get into the SpongeBob stuff, then I'll get to the patchy stuff. So basically, the SpongeBob stuff is basically that. So the SpongeBob, the SpongeBob plot is basically that. So let's start off with the SpongeBob plot. Basically, the SpongeBob plot is it starts with SpongeBob having a morning, with him, eating cereal, but then the Flying Dutchman appears with his ship, and his anchor lands in Scrooge's house, and Scrooge and SpongeBob and Patrick, they climb up to see what's up, and they see the Flying Dutchman's ship, and they're aboard in a ghost ship, and they meet the Flying Dutchman, for they meet the Flying Dutchman, who's like, who dares to disrupt me, and then Strudel, stole the Flying Dutchman only to just end up in his trap. And then SpongeBob and Patrick become, the Flying Dutchman's pirate crew. So then they sail, and then we did this funny scene of, "Ow, ah, Leo, 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 Leo," Yeah, this funny scene, and then they try to stare people off. The Flying Dutchman can do it, whereas SpongeBob and Patrick kind of fail at staring people off. They have also this entire dance scene. I don't know, SpongeBob and Patrick sit alone. They kind of end up in this like perfume world. There's like this perfume reality where they get sprained by perfume and then they get tired, which is kind of funny, not gonna lie. Not gonna lie. And then when they did nuts, they tried to confront the Flying Dutchman. And then the Flying Dutchman, he brings back Squidward and offers them three total wishes. Now, before I get to the three wishes, let's talk about the Pudgy segments first. So basically, the Pudgy segments is that he has this like special called the you wish special, where basically he has like this thing where people vote for which wish shall be granted by the Flying Dutchman in this episode. Is it SpongeBob, is it Patrick, or is it Squidward? Now, basically, this episode kinda doesn't have an ending in a way. You can argue this episode doesn't really have an ending because basically there's like three multiple endings. There's like three multiple endings. It's kind of like a video game. Think about it as like a video game where basically, you go around, you play a video game. You do on a different route, you have a bad ending. You do on a different route, you have a good ending. You have a neutral ending. You have like a somewhat a fatter ending. Similar to games that remind me of it is similar to Five Nights at Freddy's Security Breach, where basically there's like a good ending, like Teddy and Freddy escaping the pizzeria, or them, being trapped inside, or Freddy being killed and whatnot. So yeah, it kind of reminds me of like video games with certain versions of different routes of either bad ending or good ending or neutral ending and whatnot. Or Shadow the Hedgehog is also a really good example, where there's like multiple endings to that game. Shadow the Hedgehog from 2005. So basically the Patchy specials, from what I remember correctly, I do remember there was also a scene where Patchy gets shot out of a cannon. Yeah, Patchy shoots him off a cannon. So basically before we get to these three wishes, we do want to say that we do also want to talk about the Patchy segments a little bit. He gets shot out of a cannon and basically the three wishes. Yeah, basically, one of them is wished by one of them. They kind of did rid of two wishes. Like two wishes are get rid of. Where basically, SpongeBob wishes that that Strudel was here, and then he brings back Strudward. Patrick wishes he knew about this earlier, thus setting the clock back 1 minute and using up the first wish. Then SpongeBob wishes that Strudel was with them, and Strudel, basically comes with them, and then they have this final wish, and the Flying Dutchman has to decide. And then SpongeBob has to decide, and the Flying Dutchman has to decide which one that's to choose the last wish. And basically, in the Pudgy segments, he has like, the scene. He has like him, doing this whole cuts of him, claiming, oh, let's see what Patrick, wish would be. So basically, when the Flying Dutchman, pits Patrick just wishes for a dumb, and that's it. And then they get eaten by the Flying Dutchman nonetheless. Then Strudel gets the wish. Strudel just wishes for to be away from SpongeBob ever, just to never know SpongeBob at all. And then basically it's just that SpongeBob and Patrick lose their memories, not knowing who Strudel is. not knowing who Squidward is, and basically but then the Flying Dutchman just eats them. And then the winner is SpongeBob. So if SpongeBob, that's chosen the last wish, he defeats the Flying Dutchman by wishing that he was a vegetarian. So the Flying Dutchman ends up a vegetarian, but then they do to this familiar looking pineapple, but then SpongeBob, Patrick, and Squidward turn out to be like fruit, and then the Flying Dutchman just chases, and the episode just ends. The Flying Dutchman just chasing them around throughout a van, and that's how the episode ends, which is kind of weird, but that's how it ends. So basically, the Patchy segments end with Patchy returns to the audience after a totally random outburst, which he tells the audience to water the plant. He announces that they're going to read a fan letter. Unfortunately, Patty shows up adorned with a burning fuse from an unplanned explosive stunt. Patty and Patchy are blown up, and the letter decides to close the show from there. So they have like this letter that blows them up. So yeah. Alright, so next we have this 33B, dedicated to Bath. It's a very short episode. It's like a short 7-minute episode. It aired on June 17, 2002 on Nicktoons channel. On the Nickelodeon channel, it aired on July 26, 2003. This episode, SpongeBob attempts to make Daddy take a bath. So basically, in this episode, we do that. So basically, in this episode, we do that we have SpongeBob, trying to have Daddy to make take a bath, but Daddy refuses to. SpongeBob tries multiple attempts. There's some funny jokes along the way. SpongeBob, having this here, this weird smiley face. He attempts multiple times by having himself strapped to a bomb or having money, Daddy full of money, but then Mr. Krabs just comes out of nowhere and takes the money. And SpongeBob gets annoyed, trying to have him go there and whatnot. Then they play the Spider game where, SpongeBob turns the bathtub in pirate form as he tries to set Daddy on a treasure hunt. To find the treasure, which is, on the floor, but then Daddy refuses to eat the bath and then he runs away. Then SpongeBob chases Daddy with him all soaped up, trying to give Daddy a bath. But then SpongeBob falls on mud instead, and the episode ends with SpongeBob taking a shower instead, with Daddy smiling as like, yeah, I taped shower, kind of like that. So yeah. Alright, next episode is 34A. Welcome to the Chum Bucket, aired on January 21, 2002. This episode, SpongeBob is forced to work at the Chum Bucket after Mr. Krabs bets him and loses an accordion to Plankton. So in this episode, basically on a night, Mr. Krabs does an accordion with Plankton and he loses, and so he bets on SpongeBob, and SpongeBob has to work at the Chum Bucket, becoming Plankton's servant. So in this episode, basically SpongeBob has to work in the Chum Bucket now, trying to touch stuff, touch some chum and whatnot. And SpongeBob is sad about it, and there's this emotional song between SpongeBob and Mr. Krabs that was really cool. Really iconic. Really iconic. The SpongeBob is sad. He doesn't want to work and whatnot. And so basically, the rest of the episode is basically SpongeBob trying to. Basically, the rest of the episode is basically, SpongeBob taunting Plankton, tormenting him by just telling him, "Oh, I don't like this with the geese over there. I won't work until you did me this and did me that." And Plankton did start trying to get SpongeBob to work, and then SpongeBob refuses as well. So basically, the episode just ends with Plankton not handling SpongeBob anymore by telling Mr. Krabs to take him off. And Mr. Krabs gladly accepts, and he takes him off. And and Plankton admits that he cheated, and so SpongeBob is back at the trusty trap. And basically, he even like SpongeBob even sacrifices like a part of his brain, gives a part of his brain to Plankton, and Plankton tries to use it on like this robot SpongeBob, but robot SpongeBob doesn't really work, which ends Plankton, and SpongeBob is back to the trusty trap, and happily ever with Mr. Krabs working by his side. So yeah. Next up we got 34B, Frank and Doodle, aired on January 21, 2002. SpongeBob creates Doodle Bob, who steals his pencils and goes on a rampage. So this episode basically opens with with the artist on the boat, as he tries to draw, but then he drops the pencil down the ocean until SpongeBob and Patrick find it, and they draw certain things with the pencil until they draw, he does that Doodle Bob. He's basically this, drone. He's basically this drone version of SpongeBob who is pretty mad and goes on a rampage, going around destroying things, and he also destroys Squidward, and he also destroys Squidward, and he goes on a rampage. SpongeBob Patrick trying to stop him, but then he toys around with them, throwing Patrick bowling and whatnot, and then while facing off. They do on a pencil battle, and SpongeBob erases Doodle Bob, but he erases him all but only his arm is left, which is enough, for which is enough to do bad, and have himself redrawn again, and he tries to attack SpongeBob, and they have this battle at his house where the pencil breaks, and then part of the pencil flies to Squidward, and while Doodle Bob tries to attack SpongeBob with the pencil, SpongeBob defeats him by covering him with the paper and having him sit there, and SpongeBob hands it in the wall. And basically, the episode ends with SpongeBob returning the pencil to the owner, back to its owner. But then when he tries to draw again, the pencil just threats, and then the owner just he gets upset and yells, "Oh no!" as the episode ends, which is really funny. So yeah. Alright, next episode is 35A, The Secret Bots, which aired on September 7, 2001. This episode, SpongeBob wants to see what is inside Patrick's secret bots. So basically in this episode, Patrick has like this secret bots, and SpongeBob wants to see what's inside of it, but Patrick refuses to do that. Patrick saying that there's, it has there's this funny line of Patrick saying, "The machination of my enigma isn't it." The animation of my window where Patrick just thinks of drought melt, which is really cool. And SpongeBob tries to go out and see, but then Patrick always keeps it. And then Patrick keeps it a secret from the bots, and SpongeBob is trying to see what's inside of it, but then Patrick keeps on hiding it a secret. Only until one night SpongeBob decides to sneak in and take the bots, and so he sneaks in silently, trying to take the bots. And then when he finally does it, Patrick wakes up and touches SpongeBob. And then Patrick reveals that inside of it was a net. And SpongeBob was like, "Oh, okay." And then he goes outside until it's a hidden secret. Patrick pulls the net, and it turns out to have a picture of SpongeBob. It has like somewhat of we don't clearly see what the picture was, but it's something kind of embarrassing about SpongeBob. So yeah, kind of funny there. Alright, let me see what was inside of it again. Oh yeah, friendship ring. Yeah, I forgot about this one. Yeah, friendship ring, where SpongeBob tries to, make Patrick remember that they're friends, and reveals an embarrassing picture of SpongeBob at a Christmas party, and Patrick laughs at it, joking a merry Christmas to SpongeBob. Not that it matters, as the two houses are out of earshot, thus ending the episode. So yeah. Alright, next episode is the very famous 35B Bandits, aired on September 7, 2001. Scrooge creates a band to perform at the Bubble Bowl. So yeah, I mean, this episode, like, well, come on, it's Bandits, like, very, how can I say, in this episode it opens with Scrooge, Scrooge's rival Scrooge, he calls Squidward and tells him about the bubble bowl, like this bubble bowl concert, and Scrooge doesn't have a team in order to bring a team of musicians and whatnot, and Scrooge kind of laughs at it. So basically, in this episode, Scrooge tries to prove that Scrooge is wrong by assembling a team of bands, and so Scrooge goes around recruiting people, and recruits many people throughout Bikini Bottom to perform at bands. So they go on trainings, and there's like day 1, day 2, day 3. Day 1 doesn't work out. We did this really funny joke of Patrick like saying, "Oh, is mayonnaise an instrument?" Yeah, that joke of "is mayonnaise an instrument?" It comes from this episode, yeah. And Patrick did Sandy, and Sandy brings the saxophone face on Patrick. Then they try to march, but then these two merchandise they just go to the balloon, and then they, everything is a mess in the beginning. They go to the balloon, they trash, and they fall. They freeze, trying to play the horn. I don't know what it's called, but like it's basically this whole, you know, the one that you blow at it, the instrument that you blow at it. Yeah, yeah. For that, what it's called. I'll search it up later. But yeah, and then basically day four is basically everyone, it's about time to go out, and then but then still everything is a mess. The fight breaks out, and Student becomes disappointed that the band isn't ready for it. But then everyone feels bad for it, so basically they try to make it up for Squidward by performing and training all night. And so the next day, Scrooge arrives at the bubble ball, being sad, but then he shows up, his entire, band shows up, with Scrooge being surprised that they're ready. And so we did, that's the sweet victory. Yeah. So basically, the bubble ball, they perform the sweet victory song. Sweet victory. And it was such a sweet victory for Scrooge. He's happy, Scrooge fades and goes away, and carried by the doctors. And the episode just ends with Scrooge having his sweet victory, his very very sweet victory that is very well earned, and a shot of Scrooge being happy, jumping out in happiness for his sweet victory. Yeah, really did happen. Really such a such an episode. Yeah. Next up, we got this 36A Graveyard Shift, aired on September 6, 2002. This episode, SpongeBob and Scrooge work the night shift. So basically, SpongeBob and Scrooge, they have this night shift at the Krusty Krab, and when they're doing the night shift, SpongeBob is tired, and basically, Scrooge tells a steady story to SpongeBob about the hash slinging slasher, the hash slinging slasher who's like this evil. It was like this evil guy. The hash slinging slasher is like this evil, guy with the spatulas, and they kind of made him as a threat, having murder, and really great scenes of Squidward, warning SpongeBob about the hash slinging slasher, and SpongeBob being stared out of his bones, eating his arms and whatnot. And then the lights turn on and off, and then the hash slinging slasher comes in, and we get the scene of them being terrified of the hash slinging slasher with this spatula trying to thumb them and haunt them and whatnot. Ooh, so spooky. How are they gonna get alive? Only to know that the hash slinging slasher turns out to be just a regular guy, working out his night shift. And the lights turning on and off turns out to be Nosferatu. Yeah, Nosferatu in the background messing up with the lights, which is really funny. They also kind of made Nosferatu character in season 13, but we'll get there. We'll get there when we get there, so yeah. Next up we got is 36B, Krusty Love, aired on September 6, 2002. In this episode, Mr. Krabs falls in love with Mrs. Puff. So basically in this episode, Mrs. Puff visits a Krusty Krab and Mr. Krabs falls in love with her. And Mr. Krabs tries to do everything to impress her, so he goes out on a dinner with her. And he goes to his house, trying to give gifts to Mrs. Puff, and then he demands SpongeBob to give many gifts. But then we did this, extended scene of, basically, Mr. Krabs gives SpongeBob money, SpongeBob doesn't buy us a gift, and Mr. Krabs gets upset that SpongeBob spends money. And, basically, back and forth until SpongeBob has had it enough and breaks down. But then, Mrs. Puff reassures Mr. Krabs that she doesn't need any gift and that she just loves Mr. Krabs for the way it is. And then end with a strong, love story between Mr. Krabs and Mrs. Puff on a high note. So yeah. Right, next episode is 37A, Procrastination, aired on October 19, 2001. It has a cut version on May 17, 2005 and October 3, 2019, uncut version back on Nicktoons. But I don't care about those, so it's October 19, 2001. So in this episode, SpongeBob procrastinates on writing an essay on both his rule. Procrastination. What a relatable topic, isn't it? Yeah. So, what a relatable topic, isn't it? The procrastination, the feeling of trying to do something you have to do, like a homework or like a task, but then you kind of feel lazy to do it, and you procrastinate, and then you end up hallucinating, and trying to have fun while you have certain work to be finished. Trust me, I've been feeling that a lot. But either way, basically this episode is Mrs. Puff gives an essay on boating school, and SpongeBob is trying to find out how to write it, and he's trying to get himself distracted, but then he procrastinates. By trying, by looking out the window, he sees everyone having fun, and as SpongeBob tries to procrastinate, being late, he cannot do this, and he falls asleep trying to know how can he write this. And in the night, we basically did this hallucination scene of everyone telling SpongeBob not to do, all he didn't do is your homework, and SpongeBob has been in his house on fire and being on his underwear, running around, only to notice that it was just a dream. It was just a dream of SpongeBob, this fear of procrastinating. So SpongeBob, ends up the rest of the night, working on his essay. The next day on boating school, he delivers his essay, but then it turns out that the essay was deleted, was cancelled after all, meaning that all of this was for nothing. So basically, SpongeBob rips the paper, ripping himself in the process, which was really funny. So yeah, procrastination, what really relatable topic, isn't it? Yeah. Next is 37B, I'm Stupid, aired on October 19, 2001. So in this episode, SpongeBob pretends to be stupid to make Patrick look smart in front of his parents. So basically, in this episode, Patrick's parents visit, and Patrick's trying to prepare and show them that he's, smart and capable of. So basically, SpongeBob, pulls out, the prank of pretending that he's stupid when, he's actually smarter than Patrick. And so basically, he meets Patrick's parents, and Patrick and SpongeBob acts stupid besides them to show Patrick that he's actually smart. That not actually, but he is smart. Show Patrick in front of them, but Patrick does take it too far by continuously mocking SpongeBob for being stupid, and his parents kind of do it, and then SpongeBob gets mad and mad and mad, trying to mock him, and then SpongeBob, baits out and tells them that he actually is aware of things, but then they don't believe him at all. They don't believe him at all, and so they just continuously laugh and laugh and laugh until SpongeBob has had it and breaks out of Patrick's house. And then Patrick figures out that these parents are actually not his actual parents, and then his actual parents actually come out. Which these actual parents, the actual parents, well, the original ones, I don't remember their names. I could tell us what their names are, but this Patrick, the mustache, and the wear and the hair. And so Patrick meets them knowing that these are actually his parents, and then he goes and has fun with them at home. Well, not really his parents, because later he has new parents. The Patrick Star Show is Cecile and Bunny, which I definitely think are better parent characters than these two. But we'll get to the Patrick Star Show once we get there. So yeah. Alright, next episode is 38A, Sailor Mouth, aired on September 21, 2001. In this episode, SpongeBob and Patrick learn a bad word on the dumpster behind the Thirsty Trap. So this episode basically tackles the topic of swearing, of cussing, of cussing, saying bad words, it's a very common thing, cussing and whatnot. I'm not someone who cusses, I don't prefer cussing. I prefer, to have, clean language, clean spoken language. But basically in this episode does deal with the topic of cussing, and so when they're in the dumpster fire, SpongeBob has to take they're in the dumpster. SpongeBob takes out the trash, and then SpongeBob had to stumble upon this nasty word. Now I'm pretty sure it's one of those words like the you know, the F word and the S word and all that sort of stuff. And also the racist, you know, N word and all that sort of stuff. You know, offensive language. And so SpongeBob and Patrick, you know, they like saying it and they continuously say it. Ha 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 ha. Now there is like a fan dub of this, you know, them actually swearing. You know, if you find it on YouTube, it's like there's like a fan dub of it. But then you know they kind of had it censored, you know, with the dolphin noises. So basically, they do, you know, they say the word over and over and over with the dolphin noises. I remember when I watched this episode as a kid, I always thought like they actually said dolphin, they actually just made dolphin noises and not, because I never, you know, I never understood what swearing even was. I was just that I heard just dolphin noises. But then Mr. Krabs, you know, scolds them and tells them they shouldn't speak that language anymore, and tells them not to speak that language anymore. And then basically SpongeBob and Patrick promise that they won't be speaking that language. And then they go back home trying to play a game of boards and of snakes and ladders. But then you know but then Patrick says the word, and then you know they try to tell on each other and that he said the word, he said the word. But then Mr. Krabs, you know, gets hurt, and then he keeps on cussing, and so SpongeBob and Patrick, you know, tell his mother, which kind of punishes them, and then she punishes them by having them paint their house. And then when you know it appears that his mother was cussing, it turns out it was just old man Jenkins having his horn, in the end, which was pretty funny. So yeah, you know, I like, you know, that, like, you know, don't cuss. You know, I mean, I'm someone who doesn't really cuss. I don't like cussing or like swearing or you know saying bad words and whatnot. I know, I do watch lots of YouTubers who actually do it. Like it's like a national thing to them. Like they say these words, but to me, I never really felt comfortable saying any of these words, and I never really liked it. So, you know, I don't cuss at all in my videos. So you know, and I don't even allow it. So yeah, I don't really allow cussing on my channel. Yeah, I don't even allow it. So you know, but you know, it's nice to see, you know, an episode, you know, trying to, you know, go against it. So yeah. Next is 39, no, not 39, 38B, Artist Unknown, aired on September 21, 2001. SpongeBob joins Strudet's art class. So in this episode, basically, you know, Strudet has his art class open for everyone, but then a bunch of people come in, you know, thinking that it's routine, and then they leave. But then SpongeBob, you know, is the only student there. So basically, Strudet, you know, teaches SpongeBob about art, and you know, Strudet is surprised that SpongeBob is naming, you know, many things like, you know, drawing the circle, like drawing a circle, making monuments and whatnot, and Strudel gets annoyed and everything, and then you know he shoots SpongeBob. He's annoyed at everything, and he tries to impress this art guy. And so you know when he spends time with SpongeBob making like these, you know, magnificent sculptures and whatnot. Strudel becomes jealous and tells SpongeBob is meaningless, and so SpongeBob throws himself away in the dump. But then when one of SpongeBob's arts becomes proclaimed by one of the artists, Scrooge tries to steal the word by being himself credited, but then he tries to hit SpongeBob bad, and SpongeBob is in the dump all alone, and then when he hits him bad, SpongeBob doesn't actually know how to do it, and then when they try to you know, do the art and bait the marble and turn the statue, SpongeBob baits the marble, which tells Scrooge to go on a panic mode and builds the, you know, the statue there. SpongeBob throws himself away in the dump again, and Strudel builds a statue and, you know, quits the art, and telling that, you know, the water actually did it, when, you know, in reality Strudel was actually just making the statue he wanted to be credited for, but, you know. So yeah, and the episode just ends with, you know, the owner being like, oh, magnificent art. You're the one who did this magnificent art. And, you know, so yeah. Alright, 4 more episodes to recap and then we'll end the stream. Ah man, I've been live streaming for almost 2 hours, man. Yeah, 4 more episodes and then okay, just these 4 last episodes, and we're gonna end the stream. So 39A Jellyfish Hunter, which aired on September 28, 2001. And this episode, Mr. Trap sends SpongeBob to collect jellyfish jelly so he can sell it at Tendiment at the Trusty Trap. So basically, in this episode, SpongeBob, has this, a new idea of putting jelly on the tray patties, and they sell pretty well. People love them, on certain things. And Mr. Krabs hires SpongeBob to capture more jellyfish and use them as jelly for the sandwiches, But then Mr. Krabs it's extra greedy, and then SpongeBob befriends this blue jellyfish named No Name. No Name follows SpongeBob and traps him in a jar, only to take SpongeBob in a factory where Mr. Krabs is actually torturing these poor jellyfishes by having them be condemned to under factory under manufacturing factories, and to the site manufacturing factories where they're getting tortured and squeezed and being used of their benefits and whatnot. Kind of like animal cruelty, where basically torturing animals for the sake of for the sake of for the sake of one's role. Like Mr. Krabs, trying to get the jellyfish of trying to get the jelly of the jellyfish, and has them locked, and SpongeBob tries to rebel against Mr. Krabs, and Mr. Krabs was like, ha, you cannot stop me. But then SpongeBob actually manages to free the jellyfish, and then the jellyfish attacks Mr. Krabs, and Mr. Krabs just ends taking jelly off the menu. And SpongeBob befriends No Name, and then they end up by shaking hands, which in this case, he kind of stains his hands. So yeah. Alright, next episode is 39B, The Frightened Games, aired on September 28, 2001. This episode, SpongeBob and Patrick compete in the Frightened Games. So this episode basically, it's a Frightened National Games, and there's competition between Mr. Krabs and Plankton. On Mr. Krabs' side, he has SpongeBob on the competition, while Plankton has Patrick on his competition. And so they compete in numerous tournaments, and it was really fun. There's like this whole SpongeBob becoming like this fried popsicle, fried games, and Patrick becoming like an ice cream sundae, and then they fight, and then they do other and then they do other tournaments. A funny joke in this episode was when Mr. Krabs and Plankton approach each other, and then and then one of them is playing the piano, which is really funny. Yeah, and then basically SpongeBob and Patrick have to compete and fight against each other, and then in the end they have this arena where SpongeBob and Patrick become muscular, fighting each other and whatnot, and then they strangle each other for their friendship, only to learn that they're actually friends. So they betray the frightened games, and they leave the honest friendship reaction being like, "You're my best friend, buddy," which is really cool. So yeah. Next is the episode 40A, Screwed on Stride, aired on October 12, 2001. SpongeBob and Screwed and SpongeBob go on a strike. So basically, yeah, workers strike. Basically when workers demand more payment, or when they don't have much, they don't have much payment, they go on a strike demanding their bosses to pay them. So initially, Screwed goes on the idea of striking because Mr. Travis charges him for literally stupid things like, oh, existing is 20. Instead of giving him a paycheck, he just gives him a bill of existing. You have to pay $2. You have to pay $3 of breathing. You have to pay $2 of walking. You have to pay $5 of standing still. And this time, so he basically does an agreement. Oh, the connection successful. So he does an agreement with Mr. Krabs of ending the strike by having him come back to the Krusty Krab, but then SpongeBob takes things too far by by destroying the Krusty Krab and turning it into nothing. But then when Mr. Krabs comes in, his body parts just split in, and and basically Mr. Krabs just demands SpongeBob and Squidward to work for the rest of their lives, and the episode just ends on an eternity of SpongeBob and Squidward working for the rest of their lives. So yeah, they kind of just fail to go on stride. Alright, next episode. Finally, the season finale of season 2 of SpongeBob SquarePants. Episode 40B, Sandy, SpongeBob, and the Worm. We're just gonna do this episode, recap it, and then we're gonna end the stream. Because it's been it's been quite 2 hours I've been streaming here, so yeah, I'm gonna have to end things here. So, Sandy, SpongeBob, and the Worm premiered on October 12, 2001. A giant worm threatens Bikini Bottom. So this episode starts with with a giant worm coming towards Bikini Bottom. It eats a lot of things up, especially including a part of SpongeBob's pineapple. And then everyone talks about the worm that just treats habit, and SpongeBob tells it the elastin bullworm, the elastin bullworm, and then Sandy goes on a quest to touch that worm, because Sandy has been on rangers touching bulls and touching rodents and bulls and whatnot. And so she tries to go out, but then SpongeBob tries to prevent Sandy because it's too dangerous. And so we get to see like SpongeBob preventing Sandy, but Sandy not listening and going in to take care of it. But then they enter this cave where they think where they think that Sandy thinks that she took care of the worm, when it's actually the worm's stunned. It's at this cave was actually the worm's mouth. Then the worm starts attacking both SpongeBob and Sandy, and then they run away in this really cool action scene. And SpongeBob, and Sandy Tanner just swing away while hitting a cliff. They swing away while the elastin bullworm, jumps off a cliff. And SpongeBob and Sandy, have this, really nice thought of trusting each other. And while the rest of Bikini Bottom, Parrot has the idea of pushing Bikini Bottom somewhere else. Which does work, where the Bikini Bottomites push their place somewhere else, only for then the cliff of the elastin bullworm to just drop onto the Bikini Bottomites. Thus the episode ends with elastin bullworm being like, oh. So yeah, nice interactions with Sandy, and overall, great ending to the season. Great recap to the season. So yeah. So yes, everyone, that is season 2 of SpongeBob SquarePants recapped in its entirety of season 2. We did it. We recapped every episode of season 2. Alright, we'll see you tomorrow, maybe tomorrow, with my recap of season 3. So overall, this was fun, recapping every episode of season 2. And I hope to see you all next. So yeah. So join me next. I might do a let's play. Who knows if I did record. But either way, I will be streaming tomorrow, recapping the rest of season 3, and maybe doing a quick recap of the characters as well. So yeah, I hope for anyone who's been watching the stream, I hope you all had fun watching me recap all these episodes. And yeah, that was season 2 of SpongeBob. Really nice recap, really nice going down this memory lane of episodes on SpongeBob's 25th anniversary. And that concludes our session for today. So thank you all for watching. So yeah, thank you all for watching. Be sure to stay tuned for what do I have next planned on the channel. And as always, have a peaceful day, everybody, and goodbye. And have a peaceful day and goodbye, everybody. See you next on my next session of recapping SpongeBob episodes. Goodbye, everyone. Have a peaceful day.